And so what will happen is later on today, we're going to post this video to our YouTube page, which is Benedict College Women's Business Center later today. This e-learning engagement is brought to you by Benedict College Women's Business Center in partnership with the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, South Carolina Commission for Minority Affairs, and the United States Small Business Administration. Launched in September 2020, Benedict College Women's Business Center, also known as BCWBC, seeks to initiate the leveraging required to support small, minority, and women-owned businesses throughout the state of South Carolina. Aligning with Benedict College's mission as the catalyst for economic development, the WBC serves as the first gender-focused statewide entrepreneurial initiative for socially and economically disadvantaged small and minority-owned businesses in the state. Before we dive into today's topic, I would like to share that your mics have been muted. This was done to allow enough time for us to move through the presentation. Nonetheless, I would encourage you to enter your questions into the chat box. It's located at, should be located at the bottom of your screen in between participants and on my computer share. So if you would, please do that. And now for a quick check-in, if you could please just enter your first name, business name, and city where you're joining us from into the chat box. That would be great. Let's see who's in the room. Okay, we got one coming, got a few coming in. Okay, we got Melinda, Christina, okay, from Columbia, Hannah, Sabra, from Florence, awesome. Okay, we got Charleston, Columbia, Terry, Greenville, okay. And I see one of our partners is in the room as well. Awesome, thank you so much. Okay. Now that I know a little bit about you, it's only fair that I share some information about me. So for starters, who am I? My name is Shauna Cooper, and I am the interim director of Benedict College Women's Business Center. I'm an entrepreneur of 6 years and counting, and I have both for-profit and nonprofit management experience. I also serve as a grant reviewer for a widely known charitable organization in the state, and I sit on the board of directors of a community development financial institution. As for what qualifies me to facilitate a conversation on this topic, well, within the past 2 years, I've accumulated over $120,000 in small business grants. Periodically, I co-moderate a small business grant writing tips room on the Clubhouse app, and I judge both pitch competitions and business plan submissions for grant funding opportunities that support small businesses. So as entrepreneurs, we know how important capital is to help our business grow and succeed. Without money, it's very difficult, or would be very difficult, to sustain a business. You might be able to start a business without money, but as far as sustaining that business, keeping it going over time, it's going to be very difficult to do that. One source of support that has been receiving quite a bit of attention is grants. Although grants for small business have been around for some time, it started to really peak during the pandemic. And so although we still have grants for small business, they may not be as abundant as they were then, or the monetary amount not be as high as they were, but they still are available. Researching and applying to small business grants can be an arduous and intimidating process, but it doesn't have to be, which brings us to the intent of today's webinar. So this learning engagement is for the entrepreneur who's looking for non-repayment or forgivable funding options to financially support their business in some capacity. It's for the entrepreneur who would like a few tips on how to research grants for small businesses. It's also for the group of entrepreneurs who would like a strategy for organizing their approach to applying for small business. And lastly, the entrepreneur who would like a few tips on how to assess whether or not to apply for a particular grant. So although an individual may see a grant opportunity that's available, there are some things that need to be considered before applying to that. And so that's what a good bit of the conversation is going to be about today. For the purpose of this webinar, we're going to focus on small business grants awarded by nonprofit organizations and private or corporate businesses. This presentation will not focus on government grants. Also, the information I will present will begin as some basic information, or what some may consider some basic information, but I promise you as time moves on, that information will grow in scope and scale and will become more intermediate. So let's take a quick glance at the agenda, which is also labeled here on this slide as our talking points. We will review what small business grants are, the types of small business grants that are offered and why they're offered. We're going to take a deep dive into the grant application process. We're going to look at some live funding opportunities, some tips, and we're going to give our special thanks. And we're also going to, we're going to end with the Q&A. So if there are questions that come about during this discussion or this conversation, please enter them into the chat box. We're going to answer them towards the end. If time permits, I will also unmute your mic so that you can verbally or speak what those questions that you have are. So what is a small business grant? A small business grant is capital or money that is given to a business that does not have to be paid back, right? That's one of the good things about a grant is that you don't have to pay that money back. Small business grants are provided by nonprofit organizations such as a community development financial institutions. Those are nonprofit organizations, private businesses or corporations like FedEx, Visa, or Verizon, and government agencies such as your local, your state, and your federal agencies, which I've stated previously we will not be discussing in detail in this discussion. These organizations are able to make grants available to small businesses because they have set aside monies to do so. Why are small business grants awarded? Small business grants are awarded for a multitude of reasons. Some of these reasons include economic recovery, as we've seen with COVID. For a lot of businesses, the pandemic has caused a lot of financial hardship. And so what the government and some other businesses have done was provide grant funding to these organizations so that wouldn't continue to dampen our economic system and further further continue to slow the economic recovery. Seed money is another type of grant that is offered, and this is usually done to start a business. Typically, seed money supports bringing an idea to market. So a popular example that we may be familiar with is Facebook. So before Facebook received investment dollars, they received seed money in the amount of $500,000 to help launch the social media platform. Small business grants are also awarded to support sustainability practices or mechanisms to support green projects. So when you think about green projects, you're looking at those based in agriculture or renewable energy. There are also grants that support certain groups, such as Black, Indigenous, people of color, women, veterans. They support people in certain jurisdictions, LGBTQ+ community, to name a few. And then there are grants that support manufacturing and technology. Say, for example, there is a group of entrepreneurs who have this product that they'd like to bring to market, but they're having difficulty getting that project to a manufacturer and having that product being be mass produced. Then there are grants that will help them to produce those products in a massive amount and then bring those products to market so that they can get customers and those customers can purchase the products. Okay. I do want to point out that grants not only benefit the small business. So when you hear about these grants that are offered to small business, it's more so the small business owner thinking, you know, what's in it for me? But that's not always the case. The funder also has some skin in the game too. And as a result of them providing this funding opportunity, they get to further advance their mission. They get to address a priority area that they have some interest in. And they also get to gain you as they also gain you as a customer. So if there is a grant, say for example, FedEx, their thing is shipping. FedEx offers grants to small businesses. So who likely will be their customer? The small business. They offer this grant to small businesses, and hopefully those small businesses who have applied for these grants will become customers of theirs ultimately. So that's the point I'm trying to make. Okay, so why should you apply for a small business grant? For some entrepreneurs, the idea of getting free money is at the top of the list of why someone should apply for a small business grant. Although this is true, there are other reasons, and I've listed a few on the slide, and one of which is grants provide a cash injection that can be used to support payroll, mortgage or rent, purchase of supplies and equipment, and pay for vendors. Being a grant recipient can help increase a business's visibility. For example, the funder considers their support of the grant recipient as an investment. In this regard, they will offer their resources to help promote the business. This can be done via press release or inclusion in directory, or list the awardee or awardees on their website. In turn, the recipient of the grant can also do the same. They can take that press release that the funder has disseminated out to the World Wide Web and share that on their various platforms to include their website and their social media pages. And so what that does is, again, it gives them credibility, and it also increases their visibility. Okay, now will be a good time to launch a poll, and I'm going to do that right now. And I would like for you to answer the question. The poll says, if your small business was awarded $10,000 in grant funding, how would you use the funds? Will you hire new employees, cover day-to-day costs, upgrade facilities, product development, purchase inventory, expand your retail partnerships, invest in marketing? So you can choose several of these if you wish. Just remember, the amount you can spend is only $10,000. Okay, I'll give you a few more. Let's see, who's leading? Expand retail partner, invest in marketing. Okay. Purchase inventory. Oh, okay, something jumped. Cover day-to-day costs. Okay. I'm going to end it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And at the top is cover day-to-day costs. Awesome. Okay, where can you find small business grants? So topping off the list would be the women's business centers. And an example would be Benedict College Women's Business Centers, but also similar agencies such as your small business development centers, which are your SBDCs. Sometimes you can find these on the campuses of colleges. We have one at South Carolina State University in Orangeburg, where I live, which is an HBCU, which is Historically Black College University. You can also find grants or announcements of grants by being a part of your Chamber of Commerce, and also with SCORE. And SCORE is capital S, capital C-O-R-E, all in caps. Benedict College Women's Business Center has a solid working relationship with these partners and other entities. And it's because of these partnerships that we learn about small business grants. Our clients are alerted of these opportunities as they become available. So please be sure to sign up so that not only will you be able to receive free consultation, but you'll have access to any grant announcements as they become available. And you'll also receive access to one-on-one counseling, training, and technical assistance, and other resources related to starting and growing a small business. Another resource to learn about small business grants would be membership on a social media group. Members typically post these opportunities as they become available. Now, the true intent of these social media groups is not to post funding opportunities. Typically, they serve as peer-to-peer support, but there are occasions when someone within the group or the administrator will post a funding opportunity. And so to find these groups, you will need to search the platform. Facebook would be on one of the platforms that you would use for your industry. So there are group pages for event planners, entrepreneurship in general, crafters, you name it. So if you were to type in crafters or entrepreneurs, identify those pages that are of interest to you based upon the description of the group, and then join. And hopefully over time, you will receive some of those funding announcements. Thirdly, search engines such as Google is a great source for finding grants for small businesses. You can do this one of two ways that I'm aware of. One is just the general search. You put some information, type some information into the search bar. You can type in, but be specific as possible. So for example, you might want to type in small business grants in South Carolina, small business grants for Black women, small business grants for crafters. Or this is something I became hip to maybe late last year sometime. What you can do is type in Google Alerts. Once you're on that page, you'll be asked to enter what you would like to create an alert about. Here you would type in what we just said, small business grants in South Carolina, and then you will be prompted by the system to state how often you want to receive those alerts, whether it's daily, weekly, or monthly. And based upon you notifying the system of the frequency, it will share those updates with you. Now, I do want to point out that every alert you see may not resonate with your business, but there will be grants that your business can apply to. You just need to weed what those are. I know that I'm saying quite a bit. Again, we're going to answer questions at the end, and this video will be posted on our YouTube page at the end of the day. So if you want to take your time, step away from this afterwards, and then come back to it later and go at your own pace, then that is perfectly okay. Lastly, is intentional network. It's important to let people inside and outside of your business know what your business is, what your business plans are, and that you're looking for funding. You'll be surprised as to one, who knows what opportunity is available. And so when they hear about it, they can think back to a conversation they had with you and said, well, this person, has an interest or has a business in that. I think he or she would be perfect for that. And then you have that information, and then it'll be up to you to decide whether or not that particular funding opportunity is something that you should pursue. The question before us is your small business ready to apply for grants? And so this is the first key question you should ask before you consider, or a person should consider before applying to grants. And so there are three options: definitely, I'm unsure, or I need more time. And so to help you consider where you are in this process, I've come up with a few questions or prompts that'll help you along the way. Okay, first up, does my business qualify for funding? Okay, so in a nutshell, do you have an employer identification number, which is an EIN. And basically that is a that's comparable to a social security number for your business. Does your business have a business banking account? So if a person receives grant dollars or has been notified that they will be receiving grant dollars, now that I'm thinking about it, when you apply for a grant, because it's changed right around the pandemic, they want to know that you have a business banking account. They will not distribute any funds to a personal account. To apply for a grant, you will need, or an entrepreneur will need, a business banking account. You want to know, or another question you want to ask is my business sufficiently staffed? And an emergency relief grant would be an exception to this question because the monies that they provide were to help address this issue. So they provide money so that people can go out and hire and train staff. But nonetheless, determine if your current staff can manage the process and what is being asked to be funded. So is your business sufficiently staffed? So for example, if you make products and you receive a purchase order from a retailer to make 20,000 of an item and you don't have the funding to do so, and you see this grant opportunity or some type of capital opportunity to help with that because you need to buy equipment so that you can produce in this larger scale now. If it's just you and the turnaround time to complete this complete production is in let's say 2 months, then the funder will may say that your business, given this need or request, doesn't have sufficient staffing to undertake this product, or at least we feel that's the case, to successfully pull this off. Something else you may want to ask is, am I willing and able to invest the time? So that's kind of like a two-part consideration. So part of this question is asking, is the grant opportunity worthy of your time? You know, some may argue that if it's money, of course, it's worthy of my time, but that may not necessarily be true. So let's say you are in the service industry and you are looking for a grant to cover the cost of an event you would like to host, right? So a friend sends you a link to a grant. To determine the cost benefit, you use a calculation, and the calculation is right here on the screen. To determine the cost benefit, you use the calculation cost per time times the time to complete the grant, which should equal or be greater than the funding amount, right? So in this case, if you pay yourself, again, you're in the service industry, if you pay yourself $125 per hour, which is your cost per time, and it takes you 4 hours to complete a grant, which is the time spent to prepare and submit the application, and the funding amount is $500, but you need $1,200 to pull the event off, is it worth applying to the grant? And as you can see in that colored blocks, 500 is short of 1,200. So that's an example of when a business owner, entrepreneur would say that perhaps this funding opportunity that my friend sent may not be worth my time in applying. Another part to this question is, am I willing to invest? Are you able to meet the demands and deadlines associated with the grant? Now, some grants do require that you do a report. Most of the ones that I've been a part of, they just want to check in and say, well, how's it doing? They may have an article that they're looking to publish, and they will check in and say, you know, how have you spent the money to date? What impact has it had? on your business. So they may ask you a few questions here and there, but only once or twice I've had to submit a report. Typically, this is a requirement of a government funding opportunity. Number 4, are you financially responsible? Here you should be able to demonstrate that you can manage money. A budget for the requested amount and an accounting system is helpful. Some people use an Excel spreadsheet, where others may have a more sophisticated system like QuickBooks, or they may use the Wave app. But the funder just wants to know that you are capable of managing the money, no matter how small or large the funding amount is. What is your business's outlook? To answer this question, you will need to know what your short and long-term goals are. All of these questions that you see here, and we're going to do talk about an activity that may be helpful to you in your pursuit of grant funding. You're going to see this over and over again as you apply for these applications. And then the last question, are you able to show past successes? Be prepared to convey your business's impact with meaningful data and stories and testimonials. For example, were you able to hire staff? Are these staff, do they now have a livable wage? Were you able to move or integrate eco-friendly products into the creation of your offering? So those types of things would be, or even client testimonials, reviews of your projects, or partner support letters. Well, not letters, but if they can, you can have like a blurb or of how this funding have supported that relationship. That will be helpful as well. Okay. So I told you about 2 tools that I use, and the strategies that I introduce in this presentation are things that I use. So one of the tools that I think that I found to be very helpful is the one-page small business planning guide. I like this because it is less daunting than a business plan. But as you can see, it includes an extraction of what may be asked, not what may be, but what is asked in a business plan. And so this is just a cheat sheet that you can keep at hand, not only to apply for grants, but also to provide you with a strategy, whether it's like from day-to-day duties or to help you with forecasting and so forth and so on. So if we look at this, you'll see business origin. Why did you start your business? Now, this is your opportunity for you to shine. This is an opportunity for the funder to connect with you. The funder typically are people who are business owners or entrepreneurs. They have a background in finance. They may be an industry expert, but this is a way for you to connect with them emotionally. And only you can tell your story. So this is a way for you to be as creative as you like. The business opportunity. What is the problem your business will solve? What is the pain point that you're addressing, right? So are your products eco-friendly? Are you addressing time? Are you saving customers time? Those types of things. Industry analysis. Who are your competitors and what makes you different, right? What is your unique selling proposition? Identify, as far as the company description, identify important facts about your business, right? So are you in a low income community? Are you employing a certain demographic of people? Tell us what makes your products or your project unique. So those types of things. Your target market is not only just your demographics, but the funder wants to be able to, when they're reading about that, see that person. So you should be able to describe not only the age, the ethnicity or race, but they really want to know, like, okay, my customer is 35 years old. She lives in the suburbs. Her median income is this. She volunteers at this place. And this is where you create your avatar. So some of this should be done before you start your business, but the more you develop a sense of who your customer is, you'll start seeing this person during transactions. So be very clear and specific as to who that person is versus, I serve population 25 and 35 and they live in Orangeburg County. So the funder wants to know truly who that person is that that you serve. The timeline. So this is just a 1-year timeline divided over like a quarterly basis. So you will put what those milestones or strategies are. You talk about your marketing plan, your financial summary, and then given all of that, this will give you an idea of how much money you need for either to support a part of a project or a full project. Okay, or aspect of your business. Okay, the SWOT, you've probably seen that. We're moving on to the funding stuff in a second, but I just want to get ahead of this because all of this stuff is important. And the more that you know this stuff, the easier it'll be to apply for these grants. So a SWOT analysis, you're just identifying your strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats. So your strengths can be what your business does well, opportunities, let me go to W. Weaknesses can be those things that create limits to your business's progress. The opportunities are ways your business can improve. And the threats are just those barriers. So for example, teaching STEM to help young people prepare for technology or technological advances. So that could be how a company could say that this will be a threat that if it's not addressed, this is what we need to do. So this is why our project needs to occur. A threat can also be something that's environmental. So say, for example, if I make candles and there is an issue with the soybean, there's damage to the crop, then that will then not only affect supply demand, but it's also going to hurt me or affect me as far as cost because the cost is going to go up. So threats can be environmental as well. All right, so the reality of grants. Grants are competitive. With these particular grants that I'm talking about, are the ones that are offered by these nonprofit organizations and these private and corporate businesses. A lot of people apply. One of the ones that I applied to, 12,000 people applied in the United States and only 50 awards were given. So grants are competitive. So go in knowing that and you'll be fine. Grants are not designed to sustain cash flow challenges. They are to help maybe with new product development, to get you over a period, but they should not be used as something that a person can think will help their business continue over time, because that's not what they're for. And another thing is that you can do this yourself. With the types of grants that I'm talking about, you don't need to hire a grant writer to write your responses or draft your responses. This is something that you can do. This is not a federal grant, which is a little bit more intensive, but you have this information if you use those resources that I've given you, and you'll be fine. Okay, so moving on to the grant part. A part of the grant, a key part of the grant that is often overlooked. So say a person finds a grant opportunity and they read what the grant is about. We're going to fund 50 entrepreneurs in South Carolina, in a certain part of South Carolina. And right off the bat, everybody is applying. But if they would have read the terms and conditions, maybe half of those individuals would not have applied. And so the terms and conditions, there are a few things, 4 things that entrepreneurs or applicants should be mindful of. Eligibility, do you meet the funder's qualifications to apply for the grant? What is the date and time? The grant application is to be submitted online and received by the funder. So this is key. If it says the grant is due September 6th, people may automatically go in, okay, and it's September 6th, thinking I got until 11:59 p.m. Eastern time to complete this. And guess what? When you get ready to go press submit, it won't go through, because if you'd have read the terms and conditions, you would have seen, or the person would have seen, that the submission was due at 6 o'clock. And that happened to me earlier this year, but thankfully I was able to get it in at 5:59 p.m. But that was my fault for not looking at the terms and conditions. But lesson learned, because that might not have ended up being a good thing for me. So the scoring, how would my application be scored? And usually this is based on percentage. And so you'll be able to see how much time you should spend on a certain question, and then the number of awards that will be given. How many small businesses will receive funding for this grant? It could be whatever the funder has set aside money for, and the amount of money that they want to give. So that's how that's typically determined. So we're going to look at an actual grant. This is live. And guess what? We're going to talk about when it's due. So the eligibility of the Venmo Small Business Grant. So you have to be a legal resident, 50 United States, including the District of Columbia. It tells you how old you have to be, at least 18. You need a Venmo account. What I've read is, although they probably want it to be active and you've been using it to date, my interpretation of reading this is if you set an account up, you will be considered for this grant. The individual must own a small business and is active and has sold at least $500 worth of goods or services within the past 3 months. So Venmo is somehow connected to PayPal, and they pretty much do the same thing. They have some type of partnership. I think Venmo is a part of PayPal. You need to do your research on that. And lastly, employees, 10 employees or less and make no more than $50,000 in annual sales. So this is eligibility. So if you tick off all of those things for eligibility, then perhaps this is something that you may want to consider. All right, let's move along to the timing. So it tells you when the grant opened, July 28th, 12 a.m. Eastern time. And when does it end? It ends today at 11:59 p.m. ET, right? So it also tells you how many awards will be given, 40. And it right here, this part right here, it tells you how these questions will be rated. So they look at how inspirational, innovative, or particularly original your business story is. You remember earlier during that business planning template, we talked about what's the origin of your story? How did your business get started? This is the way, again, for you to connect with the reviewer. Questions relating to that is worth 30% of the total score, right? How well does your application demonstrate passion for your small business and concrete plans for where you will take your business? Those are your short and long-term goals. All of that goes back to that business planning guide that we discussed earlier. These questions are worth 30%. So these are the top, the highest percentage scoring questions here. Then you have, how well does your application demonstrate that a Venmo business profile has and will continue to benefit your business? So Venmo, again, is a way for you to do invoicing. So if you need to receive invoices because of service or a product that you make products, and it will help you with accounting, this is where you would answer your question for this, and it's worth 20%. So, you know, the first two are worth more, even though they want you to have a Venmo account. They don't rate it as high or score it as high as the other two. And then lastly, how, if applicable, has being a member of a historically underrepresented community shape your entrepreneurial experience? So then again, this is your time to connect with the reviewer. All right. So let's move on. And then here's the application. So the application is very quick. Or it's not as a lot of time may not be required for this. So it's only a few questions. So it asks you to provide some information, your first and last name, the name of your business, and to create a Venmo account. And I just went through this because I was using this as an example. It only takes you about a minute to do so. Give some, and the account is free, so you don't have to pay anything. You get your Venmo account set up, answer these fields here, and then you move on to the next part of the application, which is your email address, your address, your website. Sometimes these organizations may view having a website or social media presence as important. I don't see that here because there's no asterisk as being a required question. You have an asterisk here for email, and you don't see that you have that for website, and neither for these social media platforms. So they're not weighing that or considering that too much. So that's okay. They want to know the total number of employees. Again, looking at the terms and conditions, we saw that you couldn't make no more than 50,000, or the business couldn't make no more than 50,000. And so they like to know about your business, your background, and how you made it to where you are today. And lastly, what does your future look like? And how being a member of a historically underrepresented community may have shaped your entrepreneurial experience. So we knew what was entailed in this application before even looking at it, because we researched we looked at our terms and conditions, right? So we knew going in what was to be expected for this application, okay? All right, let's look at some other open grant opportunities. Hello Alice is a free platform designed for and by small business owners. Grants are announced several times a month. Presently, there are 3 open opportunities, and an account is needed to access the information on their site. Again, it only takes a couple minutes to set up an account, but the information that they have is very valuable. This Hello Alice is just really good about posting these funding opportunities. They understand the challenges of small businesses, and this particular resource is to provide funding opportunities announcements. So they work with various organizations like Amazon, Facebook, and the likes to present these funding opportunities to small businesses. So that's one that you may want to sign up so that you can get those alerts. AT&T Black Future Maker. So you submit a 30 to 60 seconds video or photo on your Instagram feed explaining how you are pursuing greater possibilities for yourself and the community. And the grants are upwards to $10,000. Next, we have the Black Creator Accelerator. And they will provide about 25 aspiring creators with a stipend to pursue creative endeavors and get connected with opportunities to launch sustainable, full-fledged careers in this particular field. So selected applicants will receive hands-on training and education and work with industry experts. And again, funding is up to $10,000. Now, what I'm seeing with these funding opportunities is that quite a bit of these funders are not just offering money. They want to make sure that when we give this business owner this money to do X, Y, and Z, that this business is able to grow and thrive. We just don't want to hand the money over. We want to offer mentorship, education, or some other resource. We want to continue this relationship for some time to make sure that they have the support to be around for years to come. So that is a beautiful advantage of these grant opportunities for small business. We just did the Venmo grant, and if you qualify, by all means, and you meet the eligibility requirements and you look at the other stuff, please apply. We have number 5, the Ink File, Fresh Start Business Grant. You must be 21 years or older. The funding amount is $2,500, and you can put it towards business startup costs. You'll also receive free services or formation services from this company. If you live in Richland County, South Carolina, they have a COVID-19 funding opportunity, grants of up to $15,000 if you have 50 or fewer employees and can demonstrate revenue loss due to COVID-19. So we have covered 6 funding opportunities, and there are, I believe, 2 more. Yep, these are upcoming grant opportunities for that. So for that previous page, those are funding opportunities that are available now. These are in the pipeline. So for the Verizon Small Business Digital Ready, the Verizon Small Business Digital Ready program, they just closed their most recent application process, but they have cycles throughout the year. So here is the link for you to go ahead and sign up for an account, and you will receive notification as to when the next funding opportunity is available. So with Verizon Small Business Digital Ready, they aim to help 1 million small businesses forward. And they do this by providing an online curriculum designed to give small businesses the personalized tools needed to succeed in today's digital world. So that's what they pretty much do. They have some really good courses in there. I do know, at least for the past 2 rounds, it was required that you complete 2 modules before you could be considered for that funding opportunity. And then there is LEAP. LEAP is Local Entrepreneur Acceleration Program, and it is sponsored by the South Carolina Community Loan Fund. They have cycles through, I think 2 cycles throughout the year, but the gist of this program is to offer, I believe, 9-week business planning education. So you go through the course learning about business planning, you end with a business plan and a video of a pitch of your business. And members of that cohort, there are 3 prizes, monetary prizes. One is 5, one is 5,000, one is 10,000, and the top prize is 30,000. So that's $30,000 in grant money. They do a really good job of staying connected with their cohorts. They offer continuing education as far as business planning and management. So that's a good resource for you to have. The contact for that is Greg Perry. If you go to their website, the URL or the domain name was kind of long, so I included a bit.ly there. His name is Greg Perry. You can get his email off of the website and reach out to him about any upcoming sessions. Okay. So quick tips that I use and have found to be very helpful when you're looking to apply for a grant. If that funder has been providing grants for at least a couple rounds, so they've done more than 1 funding opportunity, go to their website and see who they've funded in the past. That'll give you an idea of where you stand. That will let you know the types of businesses that they look to work with and fund. So make sure you do your due diligence and look at those recipients. Also go to the awardees' social media pages, go to their websites, see what their business is. Sometimes they put how they've utilized the funds, but it goes beyond just getting the link and seeing an application and applying. Grant research and applying, it's a job. It really is. It's just not a one and done. But the more you do it, the easier it becomes. Next, language is everything. One of the tools that I use is Grammarly. You know, Grammarly is a free app. It'll let you know about your sentence structure, if your sentence needs to be reworded a certain way. Reviewers look at that. And if they're looking at, I'm sure they're doing a screening if they have so many thousands. So if they're doing the screening, they're just, at first they're looking to see if you're eligible. And if the persons aren't eligible, they just go ahead and discard those ineligible applications. But then there are other things that may put a person out of the running. And that is the written response to those questions. So make sure that the grammar is up to par. You're not using any industry language because they're not going to look up what any acronyms are or what you're trying to say to them, because you do this daily. They don't. So you have to simplify the language. So language is everything. And also, you know, it's okay to be creative in your writing. It doesn't have to be this starch writing like you're doing technical writing. You know, just write simple. Sometimes it's okay to write like you're having a conversation. You want to be different. If they're reading thousands of applications and all of them are technical, like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, you will be that application that stands out because yours is a little more lighthearted. It's easier to connect. And it's not like those dozens or thousands that they've seen in the past. You want to recruit an objective reviewer. And that means don't ask mama to read it because she's going to love everything you do. Don't ask your friends to review it because they might, if you have a friend that's objective, then fine. But ask someone, if you have that person in your industry, who can give you some insightful feedback. You know, I didn't know what you meant when you said this. Can you tell me a little bit about that? So you want somebody who's going to question some of what you do or what you've presented, rather than saying, okay, yeah, this looks good, this checks out. You want them to be able to challenge you in that regard and stay organized. You know, you got the business plan and checklist, and keep that. And the more you write these grants, like we did the Venmo, take your responses, put them in a Word document or a Google document, and just hold on to them till the next grant, because you'll start to see that even though they're different funding opportunities and different funders, some of those questions are going to start to repeat themselves, right? Okay, we're coming to the end of this presentation. I'm going to open it up for questions. So now I would like to give a special thanks to our partners who helped to make this learning opportunity possible. They include the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities. For this event, they are represented by Aisha Driggers, who is the Office of Business Opportunities Deputy Director. South Carolina Commission for Minority Affairs, which is represented by Anthony Brockington. He is the Small and Minority Business Program Manager. The United States Small Business Administration, which is represented by Angela Brewer. She is the Business Opportunity Specialist with the South Carolina District Office. So the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunity provides commercial lending, education and advocacy, contractor and supplier diversity training, and other support for small businesses within their service area. They have this really good newsletter. So if you go to their site, I have their website listed below their logo. If you go to their website, on their homepage, on the upper right corner is a newsletter. This newsletter is disseminated weekly, and they let you know about the various trainings that they have, any funding opportunities that may be available. So this is another good resource for you to have. The South Carolina Commission for Minority Affairs is the state agency tasked with looking after the social and economic interests of South Carolina's minority communities. Commission for Minority Affairs, they do a really good job, in my opinion, of promoting minority businesses, and they have a minority business directory. They're good at connecting small businesses to their partners, and they do an exceptional job with their research. So if you want to know data about small businesses or certain communities, this is the go-to organization for that. And then the Small Business Administration is the only cabinet level federal agency fully dedicated to small business and provides counseling, capital, and contracting expertise as the nation's only go-to resource and voice for small businesses. Their website is another great resource. All these resources that I'm providing you are at no cost. They provide information, blogs, and courses on planning, launching, managing, and growing your business. If you go to their website, they have this tab called the Learning Center. It's chock full of information that is presented in course format. It's easy to navigate and understand and apply this information to your business. So all this education you're getting would cost you several dollars if you were to take this at some type of institution, right, of higher learning. But these resources are free. They're available at your disposal. You don't have to get up and go anywhere as far as to receive some of this information. It's just a matter of logging onto your website and making your due diligence to go through these items and walking through and reviewing those things that resonate with you. Lastly, with the SBA, they fund several programs at the Benedict College Women's Business Center, one of which is the Community Navigators Program. And we're truly thankful for this partnership. Last slide that I have available here is information about the Benedict College Women's Business Center and how to contact us. So you have information on the bottom that includes our social media pages. There's our number. We have our address, and this QR code up there that'll take you to how you can schedule a free consultation. Our staff are entrepreneurs, so they do this day in and day out. They live, breathe, and sleep business. So that they also, because of that, they understand what it is that you're going through, and that serve as a good peer-to-peer model to help you with your business. So at this time, I'm going to unmute everybody. Let's see, sorry. And then I'm gonna open it up for questions. Okay. Let me know if y'all starting to get to unmute to, y'all may be able to, okay, sorry. Y'all can unmute yourselves? Are you able to do it? Awesome.
Yes, I can.
Yes, yes.
Great, thank you. Now I'm going to look at the chat and see. Well, BC offer a great, because you know what one of my questions was going to be, Miss Nicolette. What sessions would y'all like to have in the future? So great, maybe that's one of them. Thank you, you beat me to the punch. Let me look at these other ones. Okay, we got the introductory. Let's see, any questions? I see we have some of our clients or partners in here, which is great, thank you. So I'll definitely present that to staff. If that is the case, that would probably be me teaching that, and I'm perfectly okay with that. So any questions? Lot to take in, is that what it is? I just wanted to give you a good basis to start with, so that you can be better prepared for these opportunities. Hannah, you can go ahead and speak. Are you unable?
Good morning.
To?
Yes,
Okay,
good
great.
morning.
Good
Thank
morning.
you for taking my question, and thank you for your presentation. It was very enlightening.
Good, thank you.
The question I would have is, what trends have you seen, or what things have you heard in the ether might be upcoming for not only Q4 but going into Q1 in terms of funding opportunities or grant opportunities now that we're quasi out of the pandemic?
Right. So what's pretty big now and probably be for some time will be anything dealing with the environment and climate. Drones are pretty popular right about now. The various demographic groups, that's going to be for some time that I'm seeing. Manufacturing is starting to pick up, tech with these apps and whatnot, and anything in technology I would say as well. So from what I'm seeing in my research, those would be the fields. Oh, agriculture too.
Thank you.
Mhm. Any other questions? I see you got some stuff in the chat. Okay. All right, any other questions? Okay, go ahead. Let's see who has their hand raised. I can't see this. Go, oh, yep, Selena, you can go ahead and then we'll go to Amena next. Go ahead, Selena.
Hi, good morning.
Good
Thank you
morning.
so much for the presentation. It was very informative.
Good, thank you.
I
Mhm.
was reading something and I'm not sure if I was reading it right,
Sure.
but is there like any particular funding for like the rural areas to like open up businesses that's needed in those areas?
So although we didn't address government grants, that would be good for you to venture to your local government to ask that question. Very great. Good question. So that will be City Hall, any county council individual. There is economic development. I know that governments, local governments have written grants for small businesses. I'm not sure what's in these individual proposals, but maybe there's something that they included to support small businesses, whether that's through grant funding or through some type of workspace, collaborative workspace. But I would start with my local government. And as I mentioned before, South Carolina Community Loan Fund with their LEAP program, that will be another one that I would look at too. Was that
Okay,
helpful?
great. Thank you.
Sure.
Yes, ma'am.
And always ask too, when you reach out to these individuals, you know, when you're introducing yourself, have your 30-second pitch ready for them. Because it's just one thing to say, you know, I'm Shauna Cooper and I'm calling to see if y'all got any funding for small businesses. But if I'm Shauna Cooper and I'm giving you this great pitch, I'm catching your attention and how whatever I'm proposing can help the government or my city or locality, that will pique my interest more. And then go to your spiel about, okay, are there any funding? Is there funding, or better yet, is there opportunity to work together? And then let them tell you what it is. Okay, and Amena, I believe Amena was next.
This is Nicolette. I have my hand up for a minute.
Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
Yes, I'm trying to find out, since I do a particular service where I do like resume writing workshops, interviewing skills workshops, you know, I'm trying to target different industries, like maybe the Bureau of Prisons, those kind of things. Do you have any contacts or resources where I can see about, you know, partnering with them to put on my workshops?
Sure. And so what I would do then, and it's not in addition to the Bureau of Justice, you can look at community-based organizations as well, that vocational rehab centers, but come up with state agencies as well, but come up with your proposal. Ask for an in-person meeting with the individual. I would introduce myself, send over what I'm looking to do, not the proposal, because you don't want to give that just yet. Say how it will help their constituents and ask for a meeting. But if you get the meeting, that shows signs of interest. But it's just and just say if you have any data that you can share, places that you work with in the past and what some of that the responses have been or what the outcomes have been, that would be helpful as well. So your 1 or 2 sentences about your service, how it can help them, and some, you know, a few bullet points on how your services have helped a similar population that you've worked with. You know, maybe X amount of people have gotten jobs they were prepared for interviews, you know, they were employed at these particular organizations. And if you're not already doing so, as I'm thinking now, if you're not, you may want to consider doing some type of post-service surveys, which are either the coordinator of the organization you're working with, and then have them do it with their the people who took a part in the provision of your service. Was that helpful?
Yes, it was. Thank you. And also,
Mhm.
you were talking about have, you know, a statement. So could I give them my capability statement?
How long is it?
1 page.
That might be too much. So
Okay.
I would keep it as brief as possible, because on initial, especially if it's in something like an email, they probably won't read but so much, but I'll just put in enough in that email to capture their attention. But when we meet in person, that's something I would bring and walk them through.
Okay. So I wouldn't necessarily attach like a Word document for my statement, more of just put it in the body of the email.
Right.
Okay.
And when I met with them, I would do just a few slides, maybe 5, and have some of that information in it. Sometimes people like
Okay.
you want to stand out and not do what everybody else is doing.
Okay, great.
Mhm.
All right. Thank you so much.
Sure. Got a few more minutes. Any other questions? These are all great questions. And if I hadn't thank you all for participating in this webinar. It says a lot about where you are, what you're doing, and how me and our partners and collaborators can be of assistance to you so that you can help me reach your business goals. Any other questions? Okay, well, you were given our contact information and the websites of our partners. Please reach out to us. That's what we're here for. We don't want the conversation to stop right here. We really want to continue this relationship. Okay, thank you, Tabitha, and it's good seeing you as well. I appreciate it. Thank you, Serena. Okay, we're going to be closing out. Before we do, again, this webinar will be posted on our YouTube channel, which is Benedict College Women's Business Center, later this afternoon. So with that said, we're going to be closing out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you, everybody. Y'all have a great day. You've been great.